Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand why are Christians against the introduction of FCRA Amendment Bill. Now, the reason why we have picked up this topic for our today's discussion is because the Chief Minister of the state of Mizoram and several Christian institutions have appealed to the central government and particularly to its Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, that the government should roll back the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill of 2006. Rather, what the Christian communities actually want, that the government should send this legislation for the consideration of a joint parliamentary committee which would hold the consultations and if need be suggest some of the changes that can be made into this bill. Now, originally the government had planned that they would get this bill passed from the floor of the House of Lok Sabha by August the 12th, because the very next day on August the 13th, the present monsoon session of the parliament would conclude. But considering all these objections, it is very likely that government would rather consider this appeal before passing this bill on the floor of the parliament. Right now, the background of this bill, you need to understand that this was originally introduced in Lok Sabha on March the 25th, but since certain provisions of this bill were turned out to be contentious, the government decided to defer the discussion and passing of this bill. Now, this FCRA Amendment Bill of 2006, it seeks to amend the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 2010. This FCRA Act of 2010, it actually regulates how the foreign contribution can be accepted and how they can be utilized inside India. Many opposition parties, including minority organizations like the Christians, they feel that introduction of this bill would negatively impact their community's interest. So what is FCRA? How it regulates acceptance and utilization of foreign contributions, and why certain amendment provisions of this particular bill, which we are going to talk about today, brings this kind of aversion in the minds of Christian communities. That is what we are here to understand today. Now, the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live, and while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel also. Right? So let us first try to talk about what is FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Now, it was introduced for the first time in India back in 1976 when India was under emergency. At that time, the objective of the government was to prevent certain foreign contributions which was flowing into India's independent and non-governmental organizations, and government felt that these kind of foreign contributions were actually provided in order to interfere with India's domestic affairs. Right? So what FCRA essentially does, it regulates foreign donations which are provided to either individuals or organizations, so that the foreign contributions are used in a manner which is consistent to the values of a sovereign democratic republic, that is India. And at the same time, this FCRA prohibits provision of certain foreign contribution for those activities which can negatively impact India's national interest. So this is the broader objective of FCRA Act. Now, what are important provisions of FCRA Act in order to regulate the acceptance and utilization of foreign contributions? Let us try to understand this. First of all, this act mandates that if you're an individual or an organization who wants foreign contribution, you can't do so without seeking prior registration or a specific permission from whom? From the central government. And it also lists down certain eligibility criteria for an organization who want to take foreign contributions. For example, any organization who want foreign contributions, they need to be either registered under Societies Registration Act of 1860, Indian Trusts Act of 1882, or Section 25 of Companies Act 1956. In addition to that, any organization wanting foreign contribution for any activity should have a proven track record of at least 3 years in undertaking of that activity. And at the same time, they need to have minimum expenditure threshold, that they should have meet this kind of minimum expenditure threshold, which is currently set at rupees 15 lakh over a period of 3 years. So for suppose any organization wants to seek foreign contribution in order to feed poor people in India, so they should show that they have at least a 3 years track record in feeding poor people, and at the same time they have spent at least 15 lakhs over the last 3 years in order to feed poor people, and then only they will be able to seek foreign contributions for the same activity, not for the different activity. Okay. Now, in addition to that, any foreign contribution that an individual or an organization should receive, this should come to a single designated account which is maintained by State Bank of India, New Delhi, that is the main branch of State Bank of India. In addition to that, there are also restrictions on how you can utilize this money. For example, if a foreign funds is received by an organization who has an FCRA license, they can't give or transfer this fund to any other person or organization. Similarly, the administrative expenses undertaken by such organizations like payment of salaries, rent of premises, in any other external circumstances for which they spend money, that is administrative expenses, the use of this foreign contribution for administrative expenses is capped at 20%. So, for example, if an organization receives 1 lakh rupees as foreign contribution, they can't spend more than 20,000 of that rupees on use of administrative expenses. Similarly, the certificate of the license that you get for FCRA funds, it is not provided for an indefinite time. Rather, FCRA license is granted only for 5 years, and if you want to renew your license, you should renew that before the expiry date, and government says preferably you should start your renewal process at least 6 months before the expiry date comes, right? So this is how FCRA regulates acceptance as well as utilization of foreign contribution. Now, there are some activities which are directly, explicitly prohibited by FCRA Act of 2010. It says that if you're an organization who wants to seek foreign contribution, you should have no history in communal tensions, spreading disharmony, or undertaking seditious activities, and you should also not represent any fictitious entity. At the same time, any individual who is undertaking or who wants to contest election, wants to undertake journalism work, is a media personnel, a judge, a government servant, an aspiring politician, or even a head of a political organization or any member of a political organization, these people are explicitly prohibited from taking foreign contributions. So this is what is FCRA and how it regulates acceptance and utilization of foreign contribution. Now let us try to understand what are the changes government has envisaged through FCRA Amendment Bill of 2026. Now government says that if any law enforcement organization, a center organization or a state affiliated organization, if they want to conduct investigation on any FCRA related complaint, they should first of all seek a prior approval of the central government before starting or initiating this investigation. At the same time, if any entity, an individual or an association who is having an FCRA license is found to violate provisions of FCRA, earlier the maximum imprisonment was up to 5 years, and this has been rationalized by the government for maximum imprisonment only up to 1 year, and in addition to additional monetary penalties. Right? So this is what has been the important changes introduced in the FCRA Amendment Bill. But now let us try to understand which is the exact provision in the amendment bill which has generated a lot of controversy. Now this pertains to designation of a specific authority. Now suppose if you're an NGO or an individual who undertakes foreign contribution, and using that foreign contribution, if you have accumulated an asset, and in case if your FCRA license gets suspended, cancelled, or is not renewed, then the assets which you have created from foreign contribution would be transferred to a government appointed designated authority, and this designated authority would have the power to take over, manage, or dispose of the assets which you have accumulated through foreign contributions, right? Even then, the designated authority has the power to transfer or sell off these assets, and the proceeds that the designated authority gets from selling of your assets would be provided or would be put in Consolidated Fund of India. Right? So once again I say this is the most contentious part of FCRA Amendment Bill. In addition to that, the government also says that in case if the foreign organization or an NGO or an individual whose FCRA license had been cancelled and it renews their FCRA license or it issues a fresh FCRA license, then the designated authority will return the unutilized funds or asset which it had taken control of earlier. So it means this possession of assets by a designated authority in case of cancellation, non-renewable or suspension of FCRA license is only temporary, provided if you get your license back, you will get your assets also back from the designated authority. Similarly, at the same time, there is clause 16A subsection 7 of this amendment bill. It states that in case the assets taken over by the designated authority includes a place of worship, then it is the designated authority's responsibility to ensure that they are given this assets for management and operation to the person or an organization who would ensure that the religious character of such places of worship is maintained. So suppose if designated authority comes into control of a church, which is a place of worship for Christians, it won't be given for operations and management to a person belonging to other religion except Christianity, right? So this is what is the basic amendments that the government seeks to ensure through FCRA Amendment Bill. Now, why this designated authority provision has generated a lot of controversy? Let us try to understand that also. Now, in India, the total number of foreign donations that is received in India, approximately 15% of it is cornered by Christian NGOs, and many organizations have sought their objections regarding this very particular amendment bill. This includes Catholic Bishops Conference of India, which by the way is an apex body of Catholic churches in India, CBCI. In addition to that, there's National Council of Churches in India and Council of Churches in Mizoram, and all of these organizations have filed the representation to the government highlighting that they are not happy, especially with the designated authority provision of the FCRA Amendment Bill, because according to these organizations, this particular provision unfairly targets minority, particularly Christian minority, because these organizations rely on foreign donations for undertaking educational, healthcare as well as humanitarian related work. So that is why these organizations feel that creation of a designated authority which has a civil court like powers to take over, manage and dispose of an NGO asset from foreign funds, it would also include transferring or selling of those assets to a government or any government related body, right? In case if NGO's FCRA registration is suspended, cancelled or not renewed. So according to these organizations, their charitable and other community welfare organizations would then become hostage to the union government and its whims and fancies, right? So what these organizations have demanded? These organizations have demanded that rather than passing this bill as it is in the floor of the House, send this bill to consideration of a joint parliamentary committee. What would joint parliamentary committee ensure that the present government can't ensure that? According to them, if this bill would go to a joint parliamentary committee, which would include members of both houses of the parliament, it would give the time to highlight concerns and suggestions which might come from different parts of the country. And only after carefully examining and considering each and every objections coming from different stakeholders, we would ensure that both of the intentions of this bill is created. That is, it would also protect the regulatory integrity of the state, and at the same time it would also ensure that essential community services provided by these religious organizations undertake without any disruption, right? So according to these organizations, the government should hold off passing on this bill in Lok Sabha before this legislation is finalized after the consideration by the joint parliamentary committee. Right. So this is all for our today's discussion. Before we move forward, there's a very important announcement. In this year, in 2026, on 15th of August, India would complete 79 years of its independence. So on that occasion, we at StudyIQ have decided that right now, up till a limited period of time, if you take admissions to any of our courses, that is P2I courses which are offered in English, that is in a bilingual format, in English specifically and in Hindi languages, you can take admissions to these courses up till few days at a discounted rate of 79%, and all of these courses would be offered with double validity. Now, what are the benefits of these courses? For example, if you are serious about your study, your UPSC aspirations, you should undertake structured classes. Not just structured classes are enough, you should be able to get hold of a mentor who would aid and guide you in your UPSC preparation. Similarly, to take a comprehensive assessment of where you stand, you need to give multiple iterations of test series only after taking scientific revision. All of this is ensured in our StudyIQ's P2I foundation courses, which by the way are offered at a discounted rate. But you'll get this discount only when you apply this code ATS Live before making the final payment, right? Now, before we wind up our today's discussion, this is the practice question I'd want you to solve. With reference to FCRA Regulation Act 2010, consider the following statements. Do let me know the correct answers of this question in the comment section, and the ones who are waiting to download the notes, you can go to this particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live and download them. So this is all from my side for today. We'll see each other again quite soon. Do let me know your opinion on this particular issue in the comment sections. Okay, so I'm waiting for your opinion. So this is all from my side. Please have a very good day.